I'm Bronwyn Morgan with Zio Air, and I am at AUVSI Xponential 2021 here in Atlanta. And it's so exciting to bring our podcast, ZioCast, live to AUVSI. We're talking to industry leaders across geospatial, drones, robotics, space, artificial intelligence, AI-based weather systems, and so much more, including advanced aerial mobility, UTM, government. It doesn't stop. So look forward to you joining us and listening to our leaders talk about what's happening with unmanned systems, drones, and more. I'm Bronwyn Morgan. I am the CEO of Zio Air and the host of ZioCast. You can find my social media hashtags below. And I want to thank our sponsors, Strive Hyper, Eco Transit, Iris Automation, Zio Air, AUVSI Drone Pilot Academy. And our guest this evening is Bob Siegel. Bob is the Connected Future Startup Catalyst from ATDC, working at the Curiosity Lab here in Atlanta and Peachtree Corners. Welcome, Bob Siegel. Bob, it's so great to have you today on ZioCast Live. Thanks for joining us.
It is great to be here. I'm a fan of the show, so I'm very happy to finally be in.
Well, that is wonderful. We've got a lot to talk to you about. You have a very well-seasoned background in IoT and mobility. How did you get to where you are now?
Well, that's an interesting question. I use the term seasoned to describe myself. It's a very short way of saying that my memories go back a very long way.
It's okay.
To give you an example of just how far back my memories go, imagine, and many in your audience won't be able to or will have missed this, but imagine a time when phones actually connected to a wire in a wall. And you couldn't say, hey Siri, you actually had to dial a 0 and a human being would answer and give you a phone number. So I go back to those days. That's how long it's been. I started in telecom in 1989.
Oh, wow.
And by the mid-90s, I was involved in helping to unbundle what was then local phone service monopoly. So I was working at the time for a company called Bell South, and I was involved in unbundling that and introducing new companies into that service. And from there, I started working on things like bringing broadband, bringing what we called at the time DSL, from being just one wire into your computer into multiple wires, multiple computers, to being wireless and onto new devices, and then integrating wireless and wireline. And from there, it got into what we today call IoT. We didn't call it IoT then,
Right.
but everything from fitness devices, health and fitness devices, a lot with connected and autonomous vehicles, the connected home, connected assets, and that type of thing, to the stage now where I'm involved in, as you said earlier, the 5G. We have a Curiosity Lab. We help startups that use 5G. We're sponsored by T-Mobile, and we help them to connect and build their services on 5G. And I also work with a company that is the artificial intelligence behind traffic management systems, so it's called Mobility Insight. So it's really become, I look at this job with the ATDC out of Georgia Tech as being the pinnacle or the summation of a long career that's been about 30 years or more in telecommunications.
Wow.
It's been a lot of fun.
It has been, hasn't it? It's been a long ride with seeing this evolution. And so, based on your experience a lot on the product side of telematics and IoT, what do you think we need to be focusing on right now, or how do we transition to meet current market needs based on the evolution of that technology?
Brian, I think that's more than just a good question. I think that's a very foundational, it's a very fundamental and very important question given where we are in digitization of the world, given the opportunities, the complexities, the objections that we're facing. I think that most of your audience will understand, most people in business today know that you have to do what the customer wants. You have to really understand that customer very, very deeply. And you have to work at delivering a service that is going to help them improve their lives. Okay, that everybody gets. But the way you phrase the question opens up an opportunity to go a little bit deeper and to suggest that once you identify exactly what it is that your customer needs and you build to that and you build to exactly what the customer needs, you still need to go a step further, in my view. And some people call this just the user interface, or they call this user studies or human factors. But it's really teaching, okay? What I like to say is everybody who is customer facing is in effect a teacher. We have to be much better at teaching our customers to use our products, use our services. And we have to do this in a way that is going to enable customers, enable people to use our services for the long term.
Right.
You know, I used Google to get myself here this morning,
right.
Google Maps. I'm from here. I switched part way because the weather was bad, there was a lot of traffic. I switched part way to Waze. For both of those services, there were a lot of features on those two apps that I probably could have used to make my journey easier, that I have used in the past, but I forgot, okay? No one taught me how to use those services and did it in a way that would continue to come back and teach me until it was reinforced in a way that I would remember. You know, you think about how successful gamers are today. What do? Well, they're teaching, they're rewarding, they're teaching some more, they're challenging, and they're rewarding. And that's how you get to be a successful gamer. Let's do that with everything that we're developing, whether it's as simple as a light switch or something very complicated.
Right. Wow. You're right. You know, as we look at this opportunity for integration to make it all easier, and I think we're still learning that.
And the way I'm going to teach your audience to remember what I just said, okay? Think back to the old Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young song, "Teach your children well."
Right.
But instead, think of it as teach your customers well. Here's the lyrics: teach your customers well. They'll think you're swell, and then they will buy. Now, I'm not going to sing that for you, but if you think about that tune and you let that go in your head for just a couple minutes, it's going to stick, and you're going to hate me forever. But you'll remember that. You'll remember that phrase.
We do have to really make sure that we're building products to meet the need of the end user versus just building them because we think they're cool.
Oh, yeah.
And we get into that a lot. It's like, this is an awesome idea, and so I just want to do it. And it's like, nobody will buy that. No one wants that.
Yeah, you got to get that product market fit.
It has to fit.
You got to get that, and then you got to take them to the next level. Make sure that they always, the customer always understands that the channel understands how to teach the customer how to use their service. And you taught the channel because the channel is your customer oftentimes.
Well, because we're talking about such advanced technologies, when you think about autonomous vehicles and the Internet of Things, when do you see this becoming a reality for smart cities? Like, you know, based on where we are now, what do you see? How do you see this rollout happening?
So I think you're going to see a lot of this come very quickly now. So we do have some autonomous vehicles available. In different cities you can do various types of ride share, that sort of thing. Out at the lab at Peachtree Corners, we will have our autonomous shuttles functioning again. They're stopped because of COVID, but they'll be functioning again. I believe that's August 31st or September 1st. So people will be able to use those. And I think you're going to start seeing a huge jump. And part of that is going to be because we've gotten a lot better with developing the infrastructure that will help those vehicles run. So you're seeing a lot more 5G out there and available. You're seeing a lot more intelligence behind traffic management systems, connected vehicles. So there's going to be a lot more development in that area. So that's one big piece of it. I think that another big piece is you're going to start seeing some very innovative uses of drone technologies that we're seeing here today.
Yes.
Okay. So drones will be some of the obvious ones. Drones will be used for small parcel delivery and for search and rescue. But you can even see them start to be used for things like transportation of people.
Right.
And for example, if I can,
right.
I would love to challenge your audience, challenge the people here, but the radio and the podcast and YouTube audience as well. And I think that to bring on the kind of smart city that we're talking about, we need to start with public transportation or the mass movement of people, and start at the basic fundamentals, the very core of the idea of we have a lot of people. We want to move those people. Those people want personal, individual experiences.
Right.
They want comfort and convenience in however they define it.
Right.
But you can't do that from a mass audience perspective if you're thinking buses or trains, but you can if you step back to basic fundamentals, moving lots of people. How can we do that? Okay, how can we do that the way they want to? Think that through, think that forward. I think that there's a lot of opportunities to do that, and you're seeing the basics of that here on the show floor today.
Right. Yeah, I think that this show will evolve, and we'll start to see, not only drones, but then the terrestrial-based, ground-based systems coming together, how it all works together, from small individual, cars to larger passenger transport.
Yes.
But what do you think, Bob, what are the biggest challenges facing us right now as a part of this evolution into this more autonomous world?
So I'll tell you, there are a number, and I think a couple of these are fairly well understood. We all know that there are some significant regulatory barriers, and we've got to get our regulatory organizations to be far more agile, to a place where they can react and be really agile organizations in of themselves, and so they're doing a lot more support as opposed to anything else. Okay. We also need a huge improvement in the number of people that are either technologists, not necessarily engineering, okay, but people who live and eat and breathe technology, who are very comfortable with it. And so it doesn't mean that you have to be able to code and develop some artificial intelligence program, but you should be able to understand what it's doing and how it functions, and also be able to deal with the human side. So I think that those are a couple of key elements. And then I think, as we said earlier, teach your customers well, I think is going to be a very, very important aspect of it.
Right. Well, that all of this, and we talked about this in our earlier show with Darshan Devakaran on the collaborative aspects of what this means and the public-private partnerships. This takes a lot. There's a lot of corporations, there's a lot of new technologies, a whole new infrastructure that has to be built to make this work. What do you think around public-private partnerships and collaboration in this space? What are the operational capabilities from your vantage point right now that are needed?
Well, I think, so first of all, very few companies can do a whole smart city on their own. In fact, I would venture to say none can. Okay. You need to be, as a company, you need to be able to bring in partnerships. I also think that you're going to see very much of, a lot of, when we talk about public-private partnerships, there's a lot of emphasis right now on top-down. The government organization wants this, and so they put out an RFP and bid on that. But one of the things that we're doing at Curiosity Lab and through the Georgia Tech Advanced Technology Development Center where I work is enabling and building the startups, because I think that the whole smart city ecosystem is going to be much more of an evolutionary, a bottoms-up progression that then government organizations take in through these public-private partnerships, and they enable. Okay, they don't necessarily direct. They don't go out and say, I need this type of a transportation system. I need this type of an autonomous airship security and policing system.
Right.
What they do instead is they enable those technologies to come out from organizations, from startups, from big companies that work with a lot of startups, their specialties, and perhaps they engage and bring those groups together and help them get out there into the world. So I think those are going to be critical. And I challenge government groups to think as agilely as you possibly can and to focus more on your ability to enable as opposed to other things that you do. Enable is my favorite word in the English language. I think it's very powerful.
It is. It is very much. Well, my last question, because I could talk, we could just keep talking and talking. With Curiosity Lab, so much amazing work is going on there. What kind of projects can you talk about right now between, government, military, private sector startups that people should be thinking about and watching out for?
So I think that's a great question. So we have projects right now that are going on in areas like agriculture. Okay, we don't cover that as much with when we talk about smart cities, but that's hugely important because there's a tremendous amount of opportunity to improve the way we feed the world. And that comes, and you're seeing this out on the show floor here today, use of drones for improving agriculture. What I want to see more of even is the ability to bring out little vehicles, personalized little vehicles that can use 5G technology to platoon and to move around urban areas, do what we call the first mile and the last mile individually, and then platoon and shoot up and down highways very quickly. I would love to see almost air bus lanes up in the air. Hey, to set something up that goes between Peachtree Corners and Tech Square and back and forth, and that type of activity. And the technology in many of these type of things is very close to existing today, and I think you're going to see this jump out there.
Right.
I'm a little bit of a futurist. I'm a little bit of a crazy person in those.
Aren't we all?
But they're fun. You read some science fiction, and you get these ideas, and you start to.
It's becoming a reality, right? The cell phone, the smartwatch.
Yeah, I mean, you walk around this show today, and some of the things that they're wow, just the use of LiDAR and radar, and camera recognition. The opportunity is huge.
Absolutely.
And it's right here in Atlanta, too.
Absolutely. Well, I'll see you on a smart shuttle soon.
Absolutely. There you go.
Well, thank you so much, Bob. These have been your 6 questions. Thank you for joining us on ZeoCast Live at AUVSI Xponential.
Thank you for having me. It's been a lot of fun.
Absolutely. We'll have you back soon.
Excellent.
All right.
Thank you.
And thanks to our audience for watching. Thank you.